10864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
This is Duck Insider.
Duck's gonna pick it up, and here we go. Got him deep. He's open. He's got it. And he's gone. How about that? Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
Omarui for three. Yes! Oh, and a steal and slam for Williams. Duarte to the basket. The slam. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champs.
Holy three. Goal! Holy ball. Left wing. Pow. Yeah, boom, boom. Regular season champions. And now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you. As we go on the air, we have some good news and some not so good news to tell you about today. We'll begin with some of the good news and tell you what is to come on today's show, including a conversation with Oregon softball head coach Melyssa Lombardi after her Ducks went 4-0 at Jane Sanders Stadium. God, it was good to see softball back at Jane Sanders Stadium, wasn't it? We also are going to hear from Kenyon Yovan after his National Player of the Week caliber performance. Really, he did it in 2 days, not 3, because the first day on Friday, I think Kenyon would tell you, yeah, not my best performance, but he was pretty darn good in the next 2 days and the next 3 games. So we're going to talk with Kenyon Yovan coming up from Oregon baseball. Also, Jody Sykes will be with us, Chief Compliance Officer. I always look forward to my conversations with Jody Sykes. We'll talk a little women's golf, talk about what's going on in the world of compliance. And then, how about some all-conference honors? I got to admit, I don't necessarily agree with the conference coaches this year. Normally I do. That's not true. Normally I agree with some conference coaches. I don't agree with the conference coaches this year because Chris Duarte wasn't the Pac-12 Player of the Year. Now, the Associated Press did vote him the Pac-12 Player of the Year. So which one do you think we're going to celebrate today? Chris Duarte was the Pac-12 Player of the Year, according to the Associated Press. He also was an All-Pac-12 first-team member, as was Eugene Omarui. Both those guys very, very deserving. The Player of the Year was Evan Mobley. The Defensive Player of the Year was Evan Mobley. The Freshman of the Year was Evan Mobley. There was an awful lot of Evan Mobley for the conference coaches, which, don't get me wrong, young man certainly deserves it. But obviously, we see things through green and yellow lenses here. Chris Duarte played like the Pac-12 Player of the Year, especially because USC finished 2-3 in their last 5. Well, the Ducks went 8-1 in their last 9. Sometimes I think that maybe I'm influenced by how a team performs for individual awards, but you can make that argument if you want. The first team is James Akinjo, Timmy Allen, Tiger Campbell, Oscar Da Silva, Chris Duarte, Remy Martin, Evan Mobley, Eugene Omarui, Ethan Thompson, and McKinley Wright. And I will say, I think that it was a exceptionally close race for Player of the Year all throughout the course of the year. For me, the power rankings were probably Chris Duarte, Evan Mobley, McKinley Wright, Oscar Da Silva, and then it was the field. I don't know if that's how the conference coaches voted. Dana Altman, by the way, was not able to vote for Chris Duarte. That's the way the rules work, even though I think he probably would have. Maybe he's a little biased too, but I think he would have. The second team is Isaac Bonton, Matt Bradley, Taj Edie, Jaime Jaquez, and Johnny Juzang. Ducks also have Chris Duarte on the all-defensive team. And I'll be honest, this really made me angry today because under school, on the Pac-12 all-defensive team, on the release that initially went out from the conference, it said Oregon State. I mean, mistakes happen. It's okay. They did fix it, but I have to say, when I first saw that, I just was like, first, you don't make him the Pac-12 Player of the Year, and then it's fine. It's fine. It's all right. Those are your honors, though, and the Coach of the Year was Andy Enfield. I think that we can all sit here for the Ducks and say, yeah, I think that Dane Allman probably deserved it. Anyway, those are your Pac-12 awards announced today. We'll talk about it more on Tip-Off Tuesday this afternoon. GoDucks.com/radio. More info on Tip-Off Tuesday where you can tune in. It'll be live from 2:30 to 3:30 if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour on the Oregon men's basketball various social media channels. Ducks will await the winner of number 9 Washington State and number 9 Arizona State in Las Vegas. They will play at 1 o'clock tomorrow, which means that we will keep you up to date over the course of tomorrow's show. Remember, Oregon State and UCLA both have byes because Arizona is not playing in the tournament because of their self-imposed postseason ban. So Oregon State, the 5 seed, also gets a bye. Ducks would then play the winner of that game in the semifinal should Oregon beat the winner of Washington State and Arizona State, which is coming up at 11:30 and an 11 a.m. pregame show here on Thursday on the Oregon Sports Network. Elsewhere, number 10 Washington and number 7 Utah, number 6 Cal and number 11 Cal and number 6 Stanford, I had that backwards in my notes, will play as well. Those are your all-conference awards. Those are the schedules. And now it's time for the not fun part of the show. You heard me mention it yesterday, and we wanted to make sure that we took enough time to properly remember a great friend as we turn our attention to some truly sad news. On Friday, we lost a dear member of the Duck family. We recorded this tribute to him earlier because I honestly don't think that I could do the tribute live on the air. For a man who had a bigger heart than anyone I've ever known, we pay tribute to our friend, Chris Bjork.
Tracks and guitar.
Our teammate and friend, Chris Bjork, passed away peacefully surrounded by his family on Friday morning. Chris is survived by his wife Allison and 3 boys, Anders, Henry, and Jordy. A lifelong Duck who most recently was a leader with Oregon Sports Properties, the multimedia rights partner of Oregon Athletics, spent 26 years working with the University of Oregon. A larger-than-life individual, Chris touched countless lives. A mentor to many and friend to all, Chris was unmatched in kindness, love, and humanity. Chris never met a stranger. He loved fiercely and loved his family most of all. He loved his friends, coworkers, the Ducks, the Foo Fighters, and a nice cold Coors Light shared with anyone who wanted a good chat and a laugh.
Is this your card?
There are literally thousands of amazing stories about Chris to share. You won't find a person who doesn't recall something goofy, funny, and heartwarming when asked about Chris.
Anybody want to smell the cork?
We'll highlight one that illustrates Chris perfectly. During a team meeting a couple months ago, we were talking about goals for the new year. When it came to Chris, he started off in his Chris way, with a little of this, a little of that, and then he waved his hand and said, "It comes down to this. I just want to be a good human." Truly, there was no better human than Chris Bjork. To honor Chris, we're happy to say that we are working to establish a scholarship fund at Oregon in Chris's name, with more information to come. We always say around here, once a Duck, always a Duck. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Bjork family, and we'll always remember our friend, Chris Bjork. My thanks to everybody who sent in pictures to help us pay tribute to really a great man, and especially to Scott Phillips for putting it together. It's been a rough few days for all of us, and especially for his wife Allison and his boys. I spent a long time writing that and thinking about what to say, and I just keep coming back in my mind to something that he said to me about being a good human and just being a good teammate, and he really believed all that. For me, Chris was one of my closest mentors, advisors, and confidants, and a true friend. He was this perfect blend. For those of you who know him, you'll understand this perfectly. He was this perfect blend of a big brother, a cool uncle, and a father figure all at the same time. And for me, he somehow always knew which perspective I needed to hear from for any given situation. And really, the world is emptier without Boss Man Bjork. That's what we always called him. But personally, I would not be where I am. I would not be sitting in this chair today if it wasn't for Chris. A lot of people don't know this, but there were 2 separate times where Chris was the reason that I actually stayed at Oregon. And I'm really going to miss him. Now from the studio and the network that he helped build. We're back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Hi, welcome to the Spicy Drive-In. May I take your order?
Can I get the spicy chicken sandwich, please?
The spicy chicken is an excellent choice, sir. And to drink?
Whatever's fine.
Oh, may I make a beverage pairing recommendation this evening?
Sure.
If we are feeling especially bold tonight, sir, I would recommend the Mountain Dew with that. It's bravely unrestrained with a very alive aroma that pairs wonderfully with your spicy chicken. It's followed by a hint of zesty citrus flavor.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I'm sure you already know this, sir, but remember to appreciate the nose first by giving the Mountain Dew a little swirl to really volatilize it.
What?
To change the flavor compounds and activate your taste buds to get them fully primed for that chicken sandwich.
Ah, it's delicious.
Now you're getting the hang of it. The muscular flavor-charged characteristics of Mountain Dew make for an absolutely epic mouthfeel when paired with spicy cuisine. It is quite on point, sir.
Dude, it's a perfect match. Like they were made for each other.
So true, so true.
When you want to make good food bolder and bold food better, do the Dew.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics. This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Hundo P. Hundo P. Adjective. Short for being 100% sure or certain. As in, if we get a puppy, I'll Hundo P always walk it.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We are back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joy Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. Well, I'll tell you what, everybody. Obviously, this has been a rough little while, and I first want to say thanks to Jody Sykes for being with us. She was normally scheduled to be our Athletic Director Tuesday interview today, and she was kind enough to slide back a little bit so that we could pay tribute to a great man. And I want to say thanks to everybody for the comments that I've already seen come through, the ones that I had the chance to read during the break. And I will start off with this because Chris would have told us, get on with the show. So that's what we're going to do. And we're still going to have a little bit of fun because you know what? That's exactly what he would have done. Jody Sykes is our Chief Compliance Officer here at Oregon. Let's first begin with this, Jody, and this is also something that put a smile on his face. How fun is it to work in a place where Pac-12 titles have become the norm and beating top teams is just another day at the office? Hi, Jody. How are you?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, right. I mean, the last 2 weekends especially have just been absolutely incredible for our sports. I know it's complicated having 17 sports competing at the time.
Just a little bit.
And it's a little bit, we're going to get a little bit better with that, you know, but it's been incredible. And as you noted, Joey, in your extremely well done tribute, Chris would have loved it. Chris would have been all over these last 2 weekends in celebration and enjoy. And that's the part that we get to keep with us.
I can only imagine how many LFG texts I would have gotten. I'll let you all figure out what exactly that means for the abbreviation crowd on the radio. What's the latest in compliance, Jody? What's been on your desk over the last 6 weeks since we last talked?
Yeah, we're just dealing with the constant changes still. I mean, obviously the dead period has been extended through May 31st, which is affecting our coaches and their ability to recruit off campus. Had a lot of virtual recruiting, and they're actually getting really good at it. The virtual recruiting space is something that I hope does carry over a little bit into the future, because I think it's allowed coaches to maybe stay home a little more and still get recruiting done. Obviously, there's nothing like seeing a recruit live, and certainly there are other pieces that you want to evaluate that you can't necessarily see on film. So hopefully once we get back to sort of more normal, there's that. But actually a lot of the questions and things that we're dealing with right now are more related to competition and making sure we have everybody certified for competition. And we're about to end the winter term. Finals are next week. So making sure that everybody's on track with that. During spring break, we'll recertify everyone academically for their work based in the winter term. And we're just trying to keep up with the COVID and the changes that the NCAA and the committees and the councils and different things make, and even whatever the Pac-12 kind of lays out for us. As we've talked before, everything's continuing to evolve because the statuses are changing. Our change in county status, our change in outdoor, ability to host different things, fans, no fans, and every county is different, every state is different. And so kind of adapting within that environment has been the big thing to keep up with, as has been our case for the last, 7-8 months.
It's just another day at the office. Nimble, adaptable, whatever the ing is for pivot, you're pivoting all the time. Yeah, I hear that. Jody Sykes joining us on the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line. You mentioned the recruiting dead period being extended to May 31st. What exactly does that mean for coaches, and how does that change the world for coaches and for prospective student athletes?
The big thing with the dead period is there's just no in-person contact, whether that's on campus or off. So the coaches, like I said, have adapted well, adapt and overcome, right? They've adapted well, and they're doing a lot of these virtual meetings and virtual conversations. Our coaches are pretty resilient people, as are the recruits that are having to deal with this as well. There's a group of recruits that have not been to this campus and are committing without seeing our campus, or any campus for that matter. This is not just an Oregon thing. This is, Division I across the board, situation. So, the coaches are handling it pretty well. I think we're starting to get to the edge of the tipping point, right? They're ready. They're ready to get out. They're ready to go see these recruits this summer, hopefully. They're ready to have, students on campus for camps, if those are allowed, and there's still a lot of unknowns. So I don't want to stay too far ahead, because right now what we know is that we're in a dead period through May 31st. What we'll find out hopefully sometime in late April is what happens after May 31st. So are we going to go into a quiet period for the month of June, which means that folks can come to campus, but we can't go off campus? Are we going to stay with a dead period through June 30th? Are we going to go straight into what would have been the recruiting calendar for each sport starting June 1st? And that's some of what we don't know. The NCAA is conducting surveys. They're gathering feedback on health authority data and desire and a variety of different things. And so sometime, I think in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we'll know what's going to happen as of June 1st.
You mentioned the timeline there and how it looks like the light is at the end of the tunnel, right, Jody?
Maybe.
So we hope. We hope. So with that in mind, getting back on track with all the different changes that have happened in the last 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 months, it seems like, what is it going to mean to get back on track? And do you foresee that there's actually going to be a normal, or is this a new normal that we're talking about with all these sorts of different rules now?
And I don't know that we have to get back on track. We never left the track. We just did it in a different way, right? We are still recruiting. We are still looking at all of the 22 folks that are juniors right now in high school. We're still gathering data. We're still having conversations. We're still doing all of the recruiting things that we would do. We're just not doing it in person. So the only difference, or at least in my mind, the big difference will be the ability for coaches to get out on the road. Yeah. Now, that's to go watch these folks play in their summer competitions, like in sports like baseball and softball, where they're playing this summer in certain states, and our coaches can actually go and watch them in person. Or that might be having the student come to campus and actually get a chance to meet with our coaches on campus. It might be some hybrid of that based on positivity rates and what's allowed. And again, I don't want to jump the gun, because we saw it over the winter break where the rates spiked again. If that happens after spring break and this kind of warming up and everything, this conversation could be moot. We could be talking about not having folks around in June because our rates aren't where they need to be. So I hate to jump the gun, but that's a possibility of us doing more in-person activity, but we were never really off track. We just found a different way to follow the track.
What's next? I mean, like, we've talked about this before, and it seems like every time I've asked that question, it's like, well, we think it could be this, and we might get a vote on this, but everything's been pushed back. So where do things stand on some of those topics that you'd like fans to know about it as we head toward another legislative cycle, maybe is the best way to say that?
Yeah, no, and that's a great memory, Joy, and that we do have a yearly legislative cycle that basically was put on hold last March. Everything that would have been voted on in April of 2020, for the most part, there's been a few pieces of legislation that have been pulled out and dealt with. But for the most part, everything was put on hold. So you've got this whole batch of legislation that should have been in the 2019-20 cycle that's just kind of sitting there and waiting. And then, we haven't been able to propose legislation for this cycle because everything is on hold. I don't believe there's going to be a lot of movement with that. I think that most of that 2019-20 legislation will get pushed into next year. I think 21-22 will look a little more normal, where we have some proposals in September, October that we get to review, we get to look through, we get to gather data on, and then hopefully in January and April of 2022, we will get some actual voting and action and legislation. But, there has been some one-offs here and there to help deal with certain situations or things that are pretty straightforward that needed to be addressed by a particular proposal. So there has been some movement, but nothing that's just extremely fascinating and globally interesting that, that our viewers might actually be interested in. There's been some stuff that's made my life a little easier. But nothing that's like just earth-shatteringly wonderful. Everything that's earth-shattering is related to COVID.
Well, yeah, that isn't as fun. Jody, anything, though, that makes your life easier, I think everybody and all the viewers and listeners are here for it, all right?
Hey, I appreciate that, and whatever we can do to keep the compliance people sane is always appreciated.
That's good. It's Athletic Director Tuesday, brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks, drink Pepsi. I want to switch gears a little bit, Jody. I mean, we've talked about a lot of the inner workings of compliance, and I find it fascinating, and I've heard from a lot of fans that think like, wow, there's so many interesting things that go on. Well, for me, there's another interesting thing that's gone on around Oregon. We've touched on it briefly, and I've mentioned these on the show. But you and your team have been so great in putting together some Be Oregon sponsored internal events, and there's also been some external events over the last few months that fans have seen with different live streams celebrating, to be honest, different walks of life that I think is awesome. Jody, can you kind of take fans inside the Be Oregon initiatives and what led to some of the internal conversations that have gone on and also some of the external conversations that fans have seen so far?
For sure. And thanks for bringing this up and highlighting this. There are a subsection of staff within the University of Oregon that deserve credit for this, not just me. I've been one of the people that's been working on some of these projects, but there is a group of folks that if I start to name, I'll forget somebody, so I'm not going to name anybody, but there is a group of folks who are working within the athletic department to put these events on. We felt like we needed to do more than our once per quarter, maybe professional development training, or maybe we would highlight something and do an event. And so we made them monthly. And we've called them the Be Oregon Inclusion Education Events. I know that's a big title, but Be Oregon Inclusion Education Events. And we focus on a variety of topics that all surround this theme of Be Oregon. And as you know, and hopefully our viewers know, the Be Oregon theme is about being our authentic self, right? And being the person that we are and learning more about the people that we aren't. And so we have been able to provide events around history months, whether that was Latinx or Native American or Black history or women's history. We're providing events around those topics, but then we're also providing topics on financial literacy and their professional development and LGBTQ+ and a variety of topics. And we're partnering with folks on campus, and we're partnering with folks that are in these spaces that are able to help guide our conversations. We are having our coaches and staff participate in panels. We are having outside folks come in and educate us. So kind of a variety of all of the things that we can think of on a monthly basis, and in some cases even more than monthly. A couple events, as you mentioned, that were outside of athletics that were open to the public as well. We had one with Otis Davis back in, I believe it was August, maybe.
So awesome.
It was amazing. And then we had one most recently for Black History Month, that Orlando did just a fantastic job with. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, go to YouTube on our YouTube channel, watch this panel of alumni with English Gardner and Anthony Newman and Jordan Kent and Gloria Maturi, who is not alum yet. She will be eventually, but just listen to their perspectives and hear what they have to say. It was just an amazingly well done panel. And again, I was only a teeny tiny little part of the group that put that together. So I want to make sure that they get credit for the work that they're doing to make these events happen as well, because there's a huge group of people that are pitching in every month to make these events happen. And it's been really well received by the coaches and staff. We have great attendance because the meetings are all Zoom, right? They're all cool. And we have really good attendance, and we've had a lot of passion from our staff and coaches to learn more and do more. And we hope to continue these events on a regular basis and hopefully find some more that are public facing that the rest of our fans and our folks can take advantage of.
Be Oregon was ahead of its time. There's no doubt about that. I've talked about that on the show before, and I like to highlight all these different events because they're important. And frankly, Jody, these are sensitive conversations. I think that we all know that, but I'm proud to work in a community where these conversations are being had. I think it's the only way that you learn and move forward. I'm a big believer in that. Where did your passion for these topics come from? And maybe part two of that question is the rest of the group that has put so much effort into these. Where's the passion come from, Jody? I mean, what fuels it for you?
I can't speak for everyone else, but I can speak for myself, and just that I want the world to be a better place. I want to leave the world in a better position than it was when I was here. And one of the ways that we can do that is through education. And, my mom was a teacher, and so education was always kind of, hammered into me. And so learning about different cultures and experiencing different things. And also the recent revelation that I've had, that I come from a position of white privilege. And in some ways, I have absolutely no idea what my colleagues are going through. And so that realization and that awareness has been a great growth for me to make sure that I am more inclusive and more comprehensive with what I'm looking at and how I'm viewing things and the lens with which I get to view it, based on where I came from and how I was raised and where I was raised. And so, I just want people to be kind. I just want people to be aware that not everybody grew up the same way. Not everybody had the same experience, but that's okay. And we can make something of ourselves regardless of what happens. And we can all be loving and kind to one another, by taking care, by reaching out a hand, by having an open mind, and just by, letting our fans know that these student athletes have a lot on their plate because of some of these issues as well. And we ask a lot of them, not just our staff, not just our coaches, and just have some awareness of what they go through as well. And just trying to, again, be kind, love one another. I know it might sound cliche, but that really is where my passion comes from, is hoping to leave the world in a better place than when I entered it.
Well, I think you've done that. Jody Sykes, Chief Compliance Officer, joining us. To bring that full circle, Jody, I mean, I feel like student athletes, they must love being able to have these conversations and these resources. And I don't know if that this is a unique thing across the country. I mean, I feel like sports has always been a very forward-thinking community. That's kind of the nature of sports, with being inclusive. I mean, are you starting to see more and more of this around the country, and just more resources like this, like Be Oregon, available for student athletes?
So I think that the Be Oregon mantra or push has been very public, but diversity and inclusion has always, well, in my career, has always been a part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that there's some more public facing pieces of diversity and inclusion that are happening, but these efforts, and my colleagues and my friends who've been pushing these efforts for a long time, have always been there. We've even had staff here who pushed us forward, and we still have a long way to go, folks. Like, just so we know, even here in Eugene, where we might think that we're very open and inclusive community, based on some of the experiences and some of the stories that we've been hearing over the last 9 to 12 months, we've got some work to do. And we have work to do nationally, but we can only maybe make improvements on the short term and in the small scale here in Eugene and Springfield, and make sure that our student athletes and our coaches who are here have great experiences. And we continue to push forward, and we continue to do better. There are a lot of people in this space outside of Oregon. There are a lot of people who have made safe spaces, or brave spaces, as I like to call them, that allow folks to have these conversations and maybe find a way forward. But don't get me wrong, we still have a lot of work to do in a lot of ways, not only here, but across the globe.
Well, thank you for your efforts, though, Jody, in all seriousness. That's why I wanted to bring this up today. I think that it's an important topic. Meanwhile, before I let you go, you're also the sports administrator, wearing many hats, Jody Sykes. Many masks. I feel like maybe that should be what we start to say. You're wearing many masks instead of hats.
I like it.
Yeah, we'll have to change that phrase. Jody Sykes, also in charge of women's golf as a sports administrator. How about women's golf right now?
Right. They just finished their tournament. It's not even posted on Go Ducks yet, but they finished 4th at this really difficult course and amazing tournament called the Arizona Wildcat Invitational. We had 2 individuals finish in the top 10, Brianna Chacon and Cynthia Liu. Just, amazing young women that are doing a really great job, having not had a fall season. So just climbing the ranks. Both these last 2 tournaments have been incredible. And that's tribute to Derek and Monica. They work so hard with these young ladies to get them where they are right now. And, just climbing the rankings and competing and, having fun while they're doing it. And it's a super fun time, not only to be a part of this athletic department as a whole right now, but certainly in my role with women's golf and just my love for that sport and being able to be around that team.
Compliance, Be Oregon, women's golf. Many masks. Jody Sykes, Chief Compliance Officer, kind enough to join us. Jody, thanks for being here, and look forward to catching up with you again in the coming weeks or months, depending on how the schedule works out.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate it.
Jody Sykes, Chief Compliance Officer, always brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Our athletic director interview. Go Ducks, drink Pepsi. On the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line with a nice backdrop again. Always. Jody always picks the best backdrops. Up next, we're going to talk with Melyssa Lombardi. We've got her coming up on the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line right after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm Probably okay. I opened the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be a warm place on a cool day. I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
We are back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Every Tuesday, we have the opportunity to catch up with Melyssa Lombardi, head coach Oregon softball, joining us on the University of Oregon Alumni Association guest line. All right, Coach, I could go on and on about how great it was to be back at Jane Sanders Stadium, but now I'm going to let you go on and on about how great it was to be back at Jane Sanders Stadium after the home opening weekend.
It was great. We love playing at the Jane. Like, there's nothing better. There's not, well, you know what? There is one thing better, and that's having a full house at the Jane. That would be icing on the cake. But no, we love playing there. Again, our athletes they have their home routine. They get to sleep in their beds. They want to come hit early, they can. It's just, everything just feels really good about the day. And then getting to play inside that stadium is just, it'll never get old.
Hey, in all seriousness, you can never control the weather, but you guys basically handled the weather about as well as you could have this week, right? I mean, you have to wait one extra day, moving the games back to play Saturday and Sunday rather than starting on Friday. So one, I'm sure that was like, man, we got to wait another day. But then also, who's your meteorologist? Because that was well done.
That would be Justin Schultz. Anytime we have bad weather, I will him and I will the weather that it's going to be great. And he clutched up and he figured it out. So
does every Diamond Sport coaching staff have like a designated coach who's a meteorologist? Because I feel like there's always one.
Probably Justin ours. And there'll be mornings where I really want to get outside and practice and the weather is not looking good. And I will just find ways to tell him how we're going to be outside and why and when and to make it happen. And he finds a way. He gets it done.
I love that. Head coach Melyssa Lombardi joining us. The Ducks went 4-0 at Jane Sanders Stadium to open up the season, open up the home season, I should say. Coach, break it down for us. So what were your thoughts on the weekend?
I really liked how we finished. I thought the first day we started out a little slow, just leaving some runners on, not getting, exactly what we wanted. But then I really like how they responded on Sunday. You could feel a really good sense of urgency. I think their plans at the plate were really, really good, which you could see the power numbers and the extra base hits that were taking place. I thought our pitchers did a great job of giving us opportunity to win. And I really thought our defense was solid all weekend.
So a 4-2 win over Portland State, a 3-0 win over Boise State, and then it's just not even close. It's 10-2 in 6 innings over Boise State, and then it's 16-0 in 5 innings over Portland State. For everybody to recap it for you, I'll say this: I sure thought that the offensive explosion was awesome, but is there benefit, Coach, to playing in those close games and kind of having those lessons learned that, hey, no, we can still get better throughout the course of a weekend?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. I think if we just constantly played in games where we put a ton of runs on the board and we dominated the opponent, like, we're not getting better as a team. We need to play those tight games and we need to see what we're capable of doing in all 3 areas in those tight games. Can we handle the pressure? Can we, when we're needing timely hitting, can that happen? Can our pitchers hold off the opponent and give us innings to put runs on the board? So I would much rather be in those types of games than, a blowout.
Talking about it post-game, I heard you mention talking about the different lineups that you guys use. You still have a lot of depth, though. It's on display over the last few weeks.
Definitely. I think we're still trying to find our way, and it's early. I mean, if we had things all figured out right now, I would be kind of uncomfortable and feeling like we might peak too soon. So we're still trying to find our way. And if things aren't quite working, then we need to make some adjustments in the lineup and make some adjustments on defense and just kind of keep shifting things around until, that's the one. This is it. So that's what I liked about this month, is that we have that opportunity being at home with the games that we're playing to continue to move some things around and see what it looks like.
Do you think the power of your team is going to be a real key down the stretch? I mean, I feel like you see a lot of these home runs, and sometimes it's you get a weekend like that, it's contagious. But man, looking up and down the lineup, I mean, there's a lot of power that you guys have at your disposal.
Yeah, no, I think we do have a lot of power, and it's nice, like to see Haley lead off with a bomb, and we're up 1-0, and you could put the ball over the fence. It's easy to score runs that way, but I think our team isn't who we are. I think we are a team that likes to put things together, get the lead off on, move her over, and then, hit her in, hit a gap and score her. So if the ball goes over the fence, I mean, I'll gladly take it, but I think we need to understand that that is not who we are, and that we need to know how to have good strategy at the plate and how to produce runs versus just waiting for the big one.
Melyssa Lombardi, head coach Oregon softball, joining us. Hannah Delgado sure played like the Pac-12 freshman of the week. Break down her weekend for us.
I really liked what she did in the outfield. I thought she made some big catches. Had some great at-bats this weekend. We put her in the 2 spot as a freshman to see how she would handle that, and I thought she handled it very well. She does a good job of swinging at strikes in the strike zone. I like how she sprays the field. So as an opponent, you can't just expect her to pull. She does a really good job of spraying the field, and I also like that she has the ability to do short game as well.
What does she project as? I mean, do you want her as a leadoff hitter, 2-hitter, 3-hitter? Where does she project in her career?
I'm not real sure yet, to be honest. I think that's something we're still trying to figure out. Is she somebody that could come up and be a leadoff? I think she could. I thought she handled the 2 spot really well. So I think just as she continues to get more and more at bats, I think that will kind of show itself.
I heard you mention post-game about how you guys go about determining who's playing where in the outfield based on statistics and where pitchers are putting balls. Can you kind of take us inside that process? I mean, how as a coaching staff do you go through the numbers that you have to piece together those outfields and the lineups as you do?
Sure. Well, I mean, we have a statistics program that allows us to see that when we have certain pitches that are pitching over their career or over this season, just last weekend, I mean, just basically what we want it to be, where the balls are being put in play, how many balls are being put in play in the outfield versus, do they, like, I'll give you an example. Brooke is a rise ball pitcher. So her outs are going to be more likely to be in the air than in the infield on the ground because of her being a rise ball pitcher. So we get to find, their types of outs. What do they look like? Are they in the air more? Are they on the ground more? And then from there, where do they most likely go? So, I mean, this last weekend, Brooke was on the mound, and we put Haley in right field because if you look at those statistics, the majority of her fly balls are going to the right side.
Right.
So, I mean, it's nothing like extremely major, but we do look at those statistics, and then it allows us to not only move our outfielders, but also in the infield, you'll see maybe our middles are pinched more up the middle because balls on the ground tend to go more up the middle, or maybe there's a certain hitter that we're going to face that everything they hit tends to go up the middle. So it's putting together what we do on the mound and also what the opponent does at the plate.
How much confidence does Alyssa Brito have at the plate right now?
I'm sorry?
How much confidence does Alyssa Brito have at the plate right now?
I think she's got a lot of confidence, definitely. And I think she's working to get better every weekend. She's got a lot to improve on, and she would be the first to say that as well. But it's nice when you get things going your way and you get that confidence that allows you to, maybe step into an area that's a little more uncomfortable for you and have the confidence that you can figure it out.
Nevada next up, a doubleheader coming up on Friday, 1 o'clock start time. That means for those of you who are usually tuning in live to Duck Insider, we will be multi-screening with you. That's my plan. I've got actually a lot of fun things in store, so come on back on Friday. I promise it's going to be a lot of fun. And then Sacramento State and also, what do you know, Oregon State will be in town, Coach. Tell us about this weekend. What do you expect from your squad, and a little bit of a scouting report on your competition.
Well, unfortunately, we just found out that Nevada is not going to be able to come.
No!
COVID protocol.
Okay, well, forgive the host. So Sacramento State.
Yeah, no, we just found that out. So this is something in the mix, the workings. But but the rest of our schedule is right. We're going to play Sac State Saturday, and then Oregon State on Saturday. And then we'll play Sac State again on Sunday.
So in other words, you have to completely stay flexible, and that's just kind of the nature of the season?
It is. And you know what? These guys have done a great job of that. And as coaches, we have to do the same. We're looking to reschedule Nevada to come back possibly in April. So we'll get to talk about them again. But but as far as Sac State and Oregon, both great opponents, we're excited to compete against both of them. So we're looking forward to it. And I think just coming off how we finished on Sunday, I think our team's eager to get back on the field and see if we can continue with that consistency into this weekend.
The important thing, back at Jane Sanders Stadium this weekend, updated schedule. You can always check GoDucks.com as we all stay nimble in this landscape. Thanks, Coach. I always appreciate you taking the time. Best of luck. Here's to 3 victories then?
Yes.
All right. See, I adaptable, nimble, even sitting here in this chair. I'm all for it. Head coach Melyssa Lombardi, thank you so much for the time, and looking forward to catching up with you next week.
All right. Thanks, Joey. I appreciate it.
Quick timeout. When we come back from one Diamond Sport to the other, going to hear from Kenyon Yovan after his ridiculous weekend. Really ridiculous 2 days. More on that in a moment on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hi, you've reached Toyota. This is Jan.
Can I save on a new Toyota?
Yes, with great deals through March 31st at participating dealers.
I'm really into mystery podcasts lately for those long drives.
Well, imagine yourself in a Camry when a celebrity sleuth solves the perfect crime. Or camping in a RAV4 when a shocking theft turns a city on its head. Or off-roading in a Tacoma when trouble follows a big city cop to the country. Spoiler alert, it was the butler.
Toyota, let's go places.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield IMG College.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing.
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Community Credit Union, Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. And, man, Coach Lombardi has that program rolling. But I'll tell you what, Oregon baseball with a 4-0 weekend. First time ever in program history that they have swept a ranked team on the road in a 4-game set. UCSB was ranked as high as number 7 in the polls. Big reason why? Kenyon Yovan. Dude was ridiculous. Also got walked 4 intentional times. I didn't mention that yesterday when we were talking about how he went 9 for 16 with a bunch of RBI, bunch of home runs, and he did it in like a 2-day stretch. Not a great game Friday. Awesome games Saturday and Sunday. Kenyon Yovan, we met with him earlier today.
When you start the way you do on Friday, which is understandable, what goes through your how do you spend the evening after that? And then clearly you took it out on the baseball the rest of the weekend. So just walk me through the 12 hours before you tore the cover off the ball.
Just worked with Martyr, trying to go through film, trying to see the reasons why I was missing pitches. At the end of the day, it ended up just being timing issues when I was starting, when I needed to be on time. We watched film after the game, broke it down, and it was a simple fix. And it was something I just worked on during batting practice the next day, and the rest was history.
What was the feeling at the end of it when you have 4 home runs and you put up that kind of production? I mean, you've had big games before and big moments before, Kenny, but that was about as tremendous a 3-game span as anyone's probably ever going to have.
Yeah, it was amazing. The biggest part was me going in there to help the team win. I was pretty ashamed of the way that I, approached the first game. Wasn't prepared enough, I should say. Needed to be ready, needed to help the team, help contribute a little bit more. Obviously we did a great job, and that was my goal when I went to sleep. My head hit the pillow the night before. I was like, it's not going to happen again. I'm not going to allow myself to, fail in big situations. And so told myself, put my nose to the grind in a quick turnaround that I had, and just wanted to be able to help the team as much as possible win. And, we ended up coming out with four wins against, a top 25 team. And, it was something that we've been working on, but, now it's in the past. Looking forward to a big weekend, big day of practice today, and hopefully attack that to get better for this next weekend.
And for a guy with your power, what do you like about hitting in the 2-hole? What does that do for your approach?
Honestly, my approach stays the same. I think it puts a little bit more pressure on opposing pitching staffs. I'm in the 2-hole, and then you have Gabe and then Aaron right behind me. It's as we saw on Sunday, they intentionally walked me with 2 outs and the base is empty, and we ended up putting a 5 spot up with 2 outs. And that's what our lineup can do. Every time we come to the ballpark, coaches have consistently, told us, we got to compete, and then putting up a 3 spot to be able to tie the game up, and then us coming out, getting two quick outs to start the 9th, and then, start the 9th or 10th, start the 10th, and then putting a 5 spot up with 2 outs was amazing. And so that's the strength that our lineup has, and hopefully we continue with that throughout everything. But the approach in the 2-hole, my approach usually doesn't change. Just with the way I was hitting, I was kind of figuring maybe some way that the opposing team was going to pitch me, maybe backwards, maybe try to pitch me straight up to get me caught off guard. And I was just prepared for whatever. Just being able to see elevation on off-speed pitches, and then just knowing that I'm quick enough to get to a fastball was the biggest thing for me. And so just putting trust into myself and all the work that I put in was the biggest thing for me, getting put in the 2-hole.
Hey, Kenyon, you guys had plenty of big hits over.
I thought that was interesting. We'll hear more from Kenyon Yovan tomorrow, because when I asked him about being in the 2-hole, I'm looking at my notes. When I asked him about being in the 2-hole, I was like, has he ever hit in the 2-hole very much prior to Coach Wazakowski taking over? And the answer is no. But he was still an All-American last year. He's hitting like an All-American this year. Kenyon Yovan changed the complexion of that lineup. There's no doubt about it. Coming up, we're going to wrap up the show and get ready for Tip-Off Tuesday, the final Tip-Off Tuesday. What? Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I have made a decision for this afternoon. In between Duck Insider and Tip-Off Tuesday, Scott Phillips and I are going to Crumble Cookies. You think we have enough time? It's just on off Coburg Road. You can get the waffle cookie. Crumble Cookies, everybody, off Coburg Road. I encourage you to check it out if you haven't yet. Awesome addition to the Duck Insider family. Today's show also brought to you by North Fork Public House. I have a feeling I'm going to be spending some time at North Fork Public House this week. Open for dine-in out. Remember, we've coined the term dine-in outside and takeout. NorthForkEugene.com. So we didn't get to all of Kenyon Yovan talking with the media. We're going to save that for tomorrow. Dana Altman also talked to the media today. But you don't need to worry about that because Dana Altman is coming up on Tip-Off Tuesday. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, Tip-Off Tuesday coming up at 2:30. Conversation with Eric Williams. You won't want to miss it. Dana Altman, also Kelly Graves, and Aaron Boley and Lydia Giomi. Man, fans, what they had to say when Terry asked them, what do you want to say to the fans? It will melt your heart, all right? Final Tip-Off Tuesday coming up this afternoon. See ya.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
GTG.